Again, I would remind you, if you have parenting questions, please go into our comment section and post a question, because Amy Straka, I'm going to introduce Amy, who, again, is not only a mother, but has been trained, as all our home visitors have been for our Healthy Family program, have been trained on helping parents be strength-based. Every parent does something good, build on those strengths, identify challenges, and then come up with goals that they mutually decide on, and then work with the parent in the home for free. Again, the program is free, and we are doing this virtually now. So we have the ability to, via phone, Facebook, Zoom, continue to work with the family, which is really a blessing. So welcome, Amy.
Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to share information about healthy families and just about parenting in general.
Good. Well, Amy, we are so fortunate to have you at Dunebrook. You have a wide variety of background experiences. So I don't know if you want to talk about any of that, or if you want to just get into the question. You want to talk a little bit about some of the work experience you had and how involved you are in the community?
Well, I know that one of the things that even we share with our families and talk about is having a connection to your community and being involved with things going on. And that's really important to me too, and that's how I ended up at Dunebrook, actually. We met at a home team meeting with lots of different folks that come together to talk about social services and other services to help support people in the county who are most vulnerable. And after talking with Jean Ann and then other folks that I came in contact with through different social justice endeavors in the community, I knew that I wanted to come work here. So that's what brought me here now.
Thank you.
But what really made me want to come on today was last week for Giving Tuesday, the live stream, someone had asked about a strong-willed 2-year-old. They wanted some tips about that, especially right now with routine changes and things being a lot different, not just for our kids, but for our adults. I mean, children can sense, even the littlest children can sense when things are off. And with the pandemic situation going on right now and everything that goes along with it, I know that families are struggling to find a new balance and just find a way to kind of make it through those routine changes. It's hard enough for us as adults to handle that emotionally. And not even talking about with your resources or money or your job or concerns that you might have, but just emotionally. And so imagine being a 2-year-old, right? When your whole world is built on routine and feeling safe. When things aren't as safe, it can be really stressful.
Right. So, wow, I agree with that, Amy. I mean, there are some days we as adults wake up and we think we've got this, things are okay, we're going along, even though there's been challenges we're going to make. And there are other days that it seems so scary. So thank you for mentioning that. So maybe we can get into that question then, Amy, if it's okay with you.
Yeah.
How does someone how does someone parent a 2-year-old who is strong-willed or has challenging moments, generally speaking, let alone the quarantine situation?
Yeah, so with our kids, I think it's just important to remember what discipline really is. Because we can have rules and constructs and routines and all of these things, but ultimately discipline is about helping your child learn how to make choices and behaviors that are going to be helpful to them.
Sure.
It's about teaching them to make those choices, and so it's not about punishing them for making the wrong choice. So a lot of the strategies that we talk about in healthy families with parenting, they're sourced from, the best parenting experts that are out there, whether that would be child development experts, pediatricians, folks in mental health, all come together and put together curriculum. And that's what we use with all of our families to talk about parenting. Time-tested and true methods and ways that are nurturing and loving and helpful to help those strong-willed toddlers grow up to be resilient and capable adults. So with a 2-year-old who might be struggling with some behaviors, you have to remember that they're just learning to navigate the world. And they're still learning what labels and actions even are. So when you're giving them directions, it can be a little more difficult to get them to go along with what you want, because they're still learning what things are called.
Sure.
That they have ways to interact with the world, that they can actually make things happen in the world. And so it's best to give them the right kind of directions.
Right. So, Amy, when you're saying labels, that's really interesting. We sometimes assume that children, young children, are little people. They're not little people. They don't always assume what a label is or what something's called. So I like that.
Yeah, and it helps just to get out in front of it, not even talking about if, your child is having a tantrum in the store, but every single day when you're walking around. That the more that you're able to label everything and give everything a name and share what you're doing with your child, you are giving them a context for their world and giving them language and communication skills. Reading is important. We always talk about how reading helps children learn language and communication. But every single thing you do every day with your child is important. If you're washing the dishes and you're talking to them and saying, like, I'm going to wash these dishes, I'm putting your lunch on a plate, I'm going to get you an apple, I'm slicing your apple. They know way more words than what they can say. They understand way more words than what they can say. So just building a world for them where you're explaining what's going on is going to give them that context. When you're seeing, like, any kind of little meltdowns and things like that, it's because this world can be really stressful if you don't know what's going on. So the more you can let them know what's going on,
great,
the better.
Great.
So,
and I think you also then talked about choices, lots of choices.
Well, before we get into choices, I wanted to give a couple tips.
Sure.
On how to give really good directions. Because it's much easier to go along when you know exactly what's expected of you and when you know what your child's capable of. Directions for a 2-year-old have to be short and specific and clear and easy to follow. So you want to use 1 or 2 steps. An example of that would be something like, put your blocks in the bucket. It's short and easy. When you tell a 2-year-old to clean up, that's kind of a crazy, wild, huge, giant concept that could mean anything. But when you tell them to put their blocks in the bucket, it's just easier.
So simple.
Simple and short, yes. Okay. And it's always great to tell not just your toddler, but children or people in general that you're speaking with what to do, not what not to do. So rather than saying, don't run, telling your child, when we're inside, we walk. You're showing them what you expect and what will work best, not just, yelling at them for not picking the right thing.
Right. So kind of do's, not don'ts.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So, yeah. But what you were saying about choices, that's a way, too, that, again, this is a strategy you could use all the time, not just when they're struggling. And that builds a foundation for them to be able to make the choices that are good for them. For this to work, though, the choices have to be real. If you are giving a child a choice between 2 things, you better be ready to do either thing, or it's not going to work. And this gives them practice making decisions. It doesn't just have to be about big stuff. We make a lot of big decisions as adults. But you can give them an opportunity to choose about literally the most basic things, saying, okay, we're going to bed, it's bedtime. Do you want to wear your Paw Patrol pajamas or your Mickey Mouse pajamas? It seems like a lot easier to just do everything for your kids. But if you give them a lot of options, you empower them to be able to make decisions. That way when they're harder than, do you want an apple or a banana, they know the format and they're ready to do it.
Right. I like that, Amy, because I know as children grow up to be teenagers, having been a school counselor, and I would get high school students that had parents that made all their decisions for them. It's just what you're saying. They were not used to making choices. So to give them a choice is really important because they need to know that they have options and empower them, as you say, to to make a decision, even if that decision is wrong, right? And it's going to be wrong sometimes.
Yes,
But allow them to make a choice and make mistakes.
And when a child isn't choosing the right thing too, you have a lot of opportunities to use that to show them the way moving forward. So, for instance, if your child is playing with something they shouldn't have, rather than just being like, no, stop. Okay, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Like, we don't play with knives that could hurt you, but you can play with this spoon. Giving them another option and another choice can be really helpful. It helps to set up just a safe world for them in general. The more things that you can put out to engage them and keep them interested, even when you're busy, when you can't be interacting right there one-on-one, the better. But none of us are perfect. No home is truly child-proof. So it's important to be able to have that opportunity. If your child's into something they shouldn't be into, it might be easy just to redirect them and toss them some measuring cups to play with.
Sure. So it's not working harder, it's working smarter.
Yeah.
These tips for some parents are so new and like, what? Do I have the time to do it? No, it's really incorporating what you're saying in their daily world. It's not added on things to do, but it's being smarter about how you interact.
And that's a great point, because when we're working with our families, like with healthy families, we're going into homes, and right now we're not. Right now we're going into Zoom. But we're going into homes and sitting with families, and we're meeting them where they're at. And a lot of parents, the reason they choose to be a part of the program is because they want that extra parenting support. And they want to make a choice to parent their baby differently than maybe they were parented. I think a lot of us take for granted the fact that we have families that were incredibly supportive, or that taught us these life skills day by day, and even that just showed us love and consistency. And that doesn't come naturally to everyone, especially folks that didn't have that growing up. And so this gives us an opportunity to be that source of support for someone, to kind of show them that there is another way.
Right. So can I ask you, Amy, if someone's wondering whether Healthy Families is right for them, what you're saying to all of us is that it just is a support system to help you make healthier choices. It's not that you're doing something wrong, it's how can you be a better parent.
Yeah, I mean, Healthy Families is amazing because it's a program that is unique for every single family. There's not a one-size-fits-all lesson curriculum that we check boxes off going down. It depends what your needs are and what your family's needs are and what your goals are and how you want to get there. With some families, that might mean a lot of support with new parenting strategies and these ideas. Other families have that on lockdown, but with, not just the situation going on right now, but in general, the amount of scarcity in society and how folks are struggling just to make ends meet, it can be really different, especially coming to a new area and not knowing where to go for help, whether it's where to go for help signing up for health insurance. How do you find a pediatrician? When you're an essential employee at a nursing home and your daycare closes because of COVID-19 and you don't know what you can do to find childcare. Right. All of these different choices and struggles facing folks, Healthy Family is amazing to help with that, because we know every spot that is going to offer support to families and parents. And we're able to give people the information that they need to find it, because it can be hard just to go online and Google food pantry. Families may not even know, for example, this weekend there's a food giveaway coming up.
May 16th at Elston at 9 o'clock.
At 9 o'clock. And not only will they be giving food, but there's also going to be household supplies like toilet paper, different cleaning supplies, toiletries and things families need. Just being in the know about those things coming up and being able to share that with families is really important.
So a lot of what you do, Amy, is when a parent is struggling in one particular area, whether it be food or housing or finding a new job, Amy and the team of home visitors helps parents find the resources in the community, which when you're an exhausted parent and you're young and you don't know, it's hard to know. So thank you, Amy, for bringing that up.
Yeah.
But so in addition to setting boundaries, you're saying if they make maybe not such a great choice?
Yeah, there are strategies that you can use, and I'm going to talk about what to do if things kind of go off the rails a little bit, and then what to do if things really go off the rails. So we talked about setting up a safe world. We talked about redirection, and those being strategies to use when your child might be making a choice that you're not comfortable with, that you may not feel is safe or positive for them. But the most important piece of that puzzle is praising them when the choice they make is right for them. Praising your children all the time, radically and constantly, whenever they're doing the right thing, is going to do way more than scolding them when something does happen. And it's not just praising them for doing the right thing, but just praising them for existing. We all go through nurturing, parenting, training here, and that is so helpful. The concept has stuck with me from the time that we sat down in the training, that there's praise for doing, but there's also praise for being. And that's not just with your children, but with everyone in your life. That, yes, when you see your child making the right choice, you're doing, you are playing so well together right now. I love seeing you guys get along. This is going really great. We're all having fun. That was probably a weak example, but that's praise for doing something. Or I love how hard you work to put all your blocks in your bucket. But then praise for being is just the love that you show your children every day and saying, I love you. That also helps build that confidence in them in making those decisions and makes them a more secure person.
So you said, so if we have something really challenging going on, what are some tips?
Okay, so let's say something is happening that isn't safe for your child. Perhaps we have a biter.
A biter.
There might be some biting. Yeah, okay. So it's really important that the first step is to make sure your child is safe. And that might mean gently putting your arms around them and pulling them away from that situation and being like, I'm worried about you. That's not safe to touch that, and I'm going to sit here with you right now. I'm going to keep you safe. Staying calm during that time. When you see your child reach for a knife on the kitchen counter, my instinct naturally would be to yell, but staying calm is important. And if they're freaking out, you're freaking out, or they're hitting, or they're biting, being able to take your child and sit with them and just say, I'm going to sit with you until we calm down, and then we'll talk.
So that kind of gives you, the parent, a chance to, literally take a breath. Because if we're out of control, then they're out of control, as you have said. So to take a breath, not only for the child, but for ourselves as a parent. We all know that feeling when we've lost control, which is not good for any of us. So
yes, absolutely. And then it's also important during that time to separate your feelings about your child from your feelings about whatever behavior they're going through. Just to say to your child, I love you so much, but I don't like it when you bite. It hurts. Biting hurts. Or, I love you so much, but kicking hurts. It hurt me. You don't kick, And then giving them the time and space to rest and recover from that experience. Kids don't just walk into a room out of nowhere and start biting. They have to be under some kind of stress to be engaged in any types of behaviors. This is just one example. And so do we. The reason that we're able to handle stress is because we got to practice. And that's how we became resilient. With everything going on in the world right now, I know that all of us in this room and most of you viewers out there are experiencing a lot of stress. But we're not reacting with tantruming and kicking because somebody prepared us for this moment. And when you are careful and kind and patient and nurturing with your children, you are preparing them to be grown-ups in moments like this.
Thank you, Amy. That is wonderful advice.